People won't tell these experiences.
Dr. Raymond Moody, an Alabama psychiatrist, was the first to name the near-death experience in his 1975 bestseller, Life After Life. He says he was a skeptic, persuaded by stories too similar and too numerous to ignore.
How widespread now is the near-death phenomenon?
Well, this has been around for a long time and goes far back into recorded history. What's happened, of course, in the late 20th century is that we've developed techniques of cardiopulmonary resuscitation that just enable us to pull a lot more people back from this state that 100 years ago would have been called death.
Are there things you know that, in your mind, prove that this is something real and phenomenal and not just a dream?
I am confident that it's not a dream.
Moody says, how could a dream explain someone like this woman, who revived and described what her sisters were wearing the day she almost died, even though her sisters lived hundreds of miles away? In an isolated spot in rural Alabama stands a white-clapboard house. Inside, an extraordinary palace of mirrors, icons, and ancient artifacts. And its owner, Dr. Raymond Moody, calls it his theater of the mind.
Oh, my.
It is a place to study one of the powerful components of the near-death experience, the experience of direct encounters with dead relatives. And Moody says similar encounters also happen to the recently bereaved.
I realize that the mere fact that these experiences are so common implies that we human beings are highly predisposed to them. And since we're predisposed to them, why not rearrange circumstances in such a way as to heighten the likelihood that a given person will have such an experience?
A place where the real world falls away and the mind is free, perhaps to imagine, perhaps to receive glimpses of another world. 3 years ago, Moody tried it himself and says he had a startling meeting with his dead grandmother.
So you're saying that when you had the encounter with your paternal grandmother, it was real in what sense to you?
You know, I saw my grandmother every bit as vividly and every bit as real.
Corporally,
oh,
and
yes.
three-dimensionally.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely, as I am seeing you right now. And I heard her voice every bit as vividly as I'm hearing yours. I was completely awake at the time.
And it happened to you in the middle of the day.
Oh, yes.
You weren't on anything, were you, Dr. Moody?
Oh, no way. No way.
Just checking, okay,
no
just checking.
So why not, I thought. Could I, through whatever method, get some reporter's notes on this key part of the near-death experience? As Dr. Moody instructed, I brought with me a photo of someone close who had died. Then I entered the room Dr. Moody calls the psychomantium. By his count, 50% of those who come here experience the presence of a dead loved one. Inside, a chair, a mirror, walls covered with brown fabric. I was left alone in the silence to face the mirror in the darkened room.
Hi. How long has it been?
About 45 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Felt like an eternity.
Nothing to report. No visions, no reunion. Dr. Moody was not surprised. Most people spend 12 hours with him for the chance of a reunion. Critics say Moody's reunion ritual is a parlor game, pulling memories from the brain and projecting them onto a mirror, like the comforting illusions of the near-death experience, the NDE.
What Moody's doing now is basically an old magical technique called scrying, staring into a crystal ball, a black mirror. I think both NDEs and the attempt to, in reunions, to get in contact with dead loved ones are the same kind of thing. They come from the same longing to be immortal, the same longing to contact people we've loved. I think it's a vain longing. I don't think you can.
Raymond Moody is not alone. In one April weekend in New York, tens of thousands of people show up at a New Age fair. They are looking for something to believe in. And the number of seekers grows as the baby boom generation confronts its mortality. A new ABC News poll shows that well over half of all Americans are more spiritual today than we were 5 years ago. 83% say they're sure we have a soul separate from the body. And half of us do believe that the near-death experience is a real glimpse of life after life.